Ladies and gentlemen, please rise and welcome Chief Marshal, Provost, and Dean of Faculty Vincent Mano, the class of 2013 of the Franklin W. Olin College of Engineering, and the commencement procession.
Welcome to the 8th commencement of the Franklin W. Olin College of Engineering. To open our ceremony, we will observe a moment of remembrance. You are invited to remain silent and reflect in your own way on the values of our community and those no longer with us. Thank you. Please be seated. It is now my pleasure to introduce the president of Olin College, Dr. Richard K. Miller.
On behalf of the faculty and staff of Olin College, let me welcome all of you to our 8th commencement ceremony. What a wonderful day this is. As we begin, I want to recognize our several distinguished guests who are here on the platform with us today, including founding and current trustees of Olin College. By the way, more than half of the entire board of trustees at Olin is with us today. I also want to acknowledge Dr. Len Schlesinger, president of Babson College, who's been an extraordinary leader at Babson and also a wonderful colleague and friend of Olin for the past 5 years. He's planning to step down at Babson next month. Thank you, Len, for your great leadership. Also with us today is Dr. Carrie Healy, the president-designate of Babson College, who will begin her term as president on July 1st. Welcome, Dr. Healy. And also members of the President's Cabinet. Now, this day of celebration was ultimately made possible because of the extraordinary vision, generosity, and courage of the directors of the former F.W. Olin Foundation, who established this institution in 1997. They are represented here this afternoon by Mr. William B. Norden and Mr. Lawrence W. Milas, who had more to do with the founding of this college than anyone else. Will you please join me in thanking them both? I also want to extend a very warm welcome to our commencement speaker, Mr. Norman Augustine, former chairman and CEO of Lockheed Martin Corporation. He'll be called to the podium later in the program, but I want to thank you now, Norm, for taking the time to be with us today. In his career of more than half a century, he has made many extraordinary achievements. For example, he's received the National Medal of Technology, also the Distinguished Service Medal, the highest civilian honor of the Department of Defense, not once, but 5 times. And he's been awarded the Public Welfare Medal from the National Academy of Science. He chaired the panel that produced the enormously influential Rising Above the Gathering Storm reports and served as the former Undersecretary of the Army. In addition, he served as chairman of the American Red Cross and president of the Boy Scouts of America. Norm, it is indeed an honor and a personal privilege to welcome you here to Olin College. And now to the class of 2013. Your class of 76 graduates, only the 8th in the history of Olin, has made your mark on our school. About 2 weeks ago, you led in the creation of an entirely new method of innovation at Olin, Build Day. You envisioned what had never been, and then you did whatever it took to make it happen. Congratulations. The spirit of innovation and continuous reinvention is certainly alive and well thanks to you. This is what it means to be an Olin engineer, starting with a vision to make a positive difference, creating a design, and then implementing it to make it real. You've also raised the bar yet again for Olin graduates. You are heading off to graduate school at places like Cambridge University in England, MIT, Stanford, UC Berkeley, Harvard, Carnegie Mellon, and other schools while earning prestigious national and international scholarships, including Olin's first winners of the Gates Cambridge, the Goldwater, and the Samsung scholarships. In addition, 1/4 of you are graduating as Grand Challenge Scholars recognized by the National Academy of Engineering. Several of you are also graduating with the first Babson Olin Wellesley certificates in sustainability. About 5% of you are headed to Harvard Business School in 2 years, a trend that is now persistent here. But the majority of you are headed into the workforce, and most of you have already decided where you will work and for what salary. You're joining many of the best-known technology companies in the world, as well as many small startup companies that are less well-known. Sally reported that the average starting salary this year will climb significantly above last year's average, which I thought was impossible. to a level that is now well more than $20,000 above the national average for new engineering graduates. And engineering is, again, the field with the highest starting salaries in the nation. Obviously, you're in great demand. We cannot be more proud of you. Today represents a milestone in your lives you will never forget. It's the culmination of years of hard work and determination. But this ceremony is not called a culmination ceremony. It's a commencement ceremony. It's the first day of the rest of your life. I have a few thoughts for you as your life now becomes a bit less predictable. What comes next in your life will have to be your decision alone. Only you can steer the future now. Oh, and from here on, the answer is not in the back of the book. But of course, the answer to real problems are never in the back of the book. In fact, there is usually no book at all, just like Olin. The first observation I have for you is not everything that is important in life is found in a book. It's often within you instead. Learning to listen to that voice within is not something we spend a lot of time on in science and engineering schools in this country, but it's essential to making good choices and creating meaning in your life. Personally, I think each generation must learn to realize three basic things in order to thrive. First, we have a fundamental need to be the most important person in someone else's life. We are inherently social beings, and without the security that comes from knowing intuitively, at the deepest level, that we are absolutely treasured by someone else, usually parents or family and friends, there is a void within us that's very difficult to fill. I believe this is why babies are cute. So everyone they encounter smiles and treats them special, so they start out in life knowing that they are really treasured. I also believe this is one reason why parents long for children. So this is the first dimension to the voice that's buried within you, the fundamental need for acceptance and unconditional love. Next, every person has a fundamental need to make sense of the world they live in. That is, they need a cognitive framework for understanding the events around them that is sufficient to predict the most important features of the world that they have to deal with. Each generation faces different challenges and must, therefore, construct a framework that is appropriate for their age. Creating this framework is what we've spent most of our time doing with you these last 4 years. We believe that by now, you should be able to learn on your own, experiment, and change the outcome of your life and of society, too, when you work together in teams. We're counting on it. Finally, every person feels the need to make a significant positive contribution to the world. The need to create a purpose for your life and for self-expression, uniqueness, and identity are universal, in my opinion. I believe this is part of the reason why, for example, Facebook has become such a worldwide phenomenon. Facebook provides a powerful medium for self-expression and for creating identity and community. And this is a second dimension of the voice within you. Now, notice that two of these three aspects of learning and realization depend on what's inside you, from reflection and experience in what we call intuition and emotion, rather than from math and science. So how do you discover and nurture your inner voice? I suppose this is a personal journey for each of us, but I believe that the path of discovery is fundamentally experiential rather than cognitive. You aren't going to discover it by reading about principles of physics or anything from a textbook. In my case, my first encounter with noticing an inner voice was with music. Now, I know that many of you, perhaps 2/3, are actually accomplished musicians. When I listen to the Olin conductorless orchestra, I'm absolutely stunned at your talent, skill, and sophistication in music performance. The same is true, of course, for the power chords, the Olin Rock Orchestra, Franklin W. Olin players in drama, the many examples of your visual arts, creative writing, and also athletic performance, and so on. By the way, how do you find time to do this anyway? Aren't we giving you enough homework? I believe music is a good example of expression of the inner voice because it is, in a sense, a direct conduit to the soul. By that, I mean it is all about the way you express the musical phrases and less about the notes themselves. It's the emotion and the meaning that you convey that channels through you. It's not just the mechanical reproduction of the score. To me, music is a language that allows you to express your deepest feelings in a way that immediately impacts others without first passing through the intellectual filters of skepticism and analysis. It moves you and it shapes your feelings. In fact, if you close your eyes, it can transport you to another world. For example, a few years ago, there was a great earthquake in Haiti. I'm sure you remember the TV images of widespread devastation and masses of people living in miserable refugee camps. Now, in one such camp, the remnants of an orchestra assembled what was left of their instruments and played a concert one afternoon. The audience was wrapped with inherent interest and longing. And you could see when they closed their eyes, they were transported away from the squalor and the misery of their surroundings. The same thing happened to my mother 3 years ago, lying trapped in a hospital bed, suffering from terminal cancer. When she closed her eyes and listened to Judy Garland and Patti Page, her favorite singers, on an iPod that we brought her, she was transported for a time. You see, great music is ageless and it's universal. And for the artist creating it, it's an example of the voice within taking charge and expressing emotion, feeling, and meaning on a higher plane, often releasing ideas and feelings you didn't know you had. And that is the important message. Your inner voice can teach you lessons you can't learn any other way, but only through experience. And that is what experiential learning is all about. But any of you who ever played a musical recital at age 10 knows the terror of stage fright and memorization. What if because I'm too scared, I start out at a tempo that's too fast? What if I can't remember the second line? What will they think of the way I look today? Now, I played the trumpet when I was young, and I began playing at solo festivals at about the age of 10. Now, one problem with the trumpet is that it's loud. When you miss a note, everybody knows it. And if you miss just one note, everyone then sits on the edge of their chair waiting to see when you will miss the next one. The only way to win over the audience, to transport them, is to play with confidence and with passion. These are what we admire most in the performance. We want to be transported. And they are very hard to fake, especially with a loud brass instrument that often seems to have a mind of its own. For me, the key to overcoming this fear was discovering my inner voice. You see, after playing the recital piece so many times that my fingers and lips just executed the notes so automatically that it was like tying my shoes with my eyes closed, I discovered the power of the emotion underlying the musical score. It carried me to a new world. It was a very private world for me, and it gave meaning to my performance. It was as if I had a deeply important message to deliver from within me, and the trumpet was simply the vehicle through which I could share it. When this happened, the music took over when I was on stage, and I didn't obsess about the notes or my appearance. I was on a mission. Then the passion and the confidence and the purpose shone through, and the audience could feel this. They were not worried about my missing the high notes. They were carried to a new world along with me. That's the power of music. That is where I first discovered my inner voice. And I know from watching many of you perform, many of you know exactly what I'm talking about. This, of course, is just one dimension of the inner voice. It is also involved in every creative activity, which always involves some form of improvisation, like playing jazz where you cannot predict what you will play next, since it is actually a musical conversation that's created in real time. Or creative writing, where you start with a blank sheet of paper and then reflect deeply on your own words. That is, listening to your inner voice and revising and revising and revising again until it finally begins to feel close to what the inner voice is trying to say. You see, creativity, starting with a blank page, always begins with the inner voice. So I hope each of you will seriously look for ways to nurture your inner voice too. It will enable you to see things beyond the analytical, to connect with people on a fundamental level, to stand and deliver, to lead with confidence, and to make a positive difference in the world. You see, the essential role of experiential learning is why we emphasize learning in the arts and humanities at Olin. In self-expression of all kinds, from the beginning, in passionate pursuits. It's essential to your success as an engineering innovator, and we don't want you to take chance on your development in this critical area. Now, I know from experience how important it is to discover the non-analytical dimensions in life and to embrace and nurture them. When combined with your extraordinary scientific and engineering talent, you'll be well equipped to lead in the solution of the complex grand challenges of our age, many of which are inherently dependent on changing social behavior on a large scale. That is, changing people, not just creating new technologies. Well, today marks a commencement. Your education is not complete. It's only just beginning. Most of the technologies and the complex problems you will face have not yet been discovered. You can't just rest on what you've already learned. You must keep learning. So let me leave you with one final lifelong assignment, that each of you commit to experiencing something completely new at least once each year, something way outside your comfort zone. Pay attention to your inner voice when you do this. Reflect on everything and every experience and see how this experience changes you. Travel to a new country. Learn a new language. Keep a personal journal. Make new friends. Push yourself to compete in a new sport or athletic activity. Write a careful essay on something important and circulate it to friends for review and comment. Explore nature. Enter a new relationship. Take up a new musical instrument. If you do this, it will change who you are. In addition, don't neglect your cognitive development. Read at least one nonfiction book every 6 months, cover to cover, for the rest of your life, preferably from an area unrelated to engineering. That's only 2 books a year. I'm even tempted to ask you to raise your right hand and promise to do these things. But I know better. Oh, and at least once a year, you should read a book written by an author with whom you violently disagree. It's getting harder and harder to understand all sides of any issue today because of the narrow partisan views of so many sources of information. In closing, let me say this. We couldn't be more proud of you. Go out and envision what has never been and do whatever it takes to make it happen. Discover and nurture your inner voice and lead with confidence and passion. Godspeed to all of you.
I would now like to introduce William Norton, who is representing the Board of Trustees.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to add 2 things before I start to Norm Augustine's bio that I learned a little while ago that many of you can relate to, and things he's proud of. First of all, he's an Eagle Scout, and second of all, he's a Brotherhood member of the Order of the Arrow, which is a Boy Scout honor society. On behalf of the Board of Trustees, greetings, welcome to the class of 2013, their friends, their parents, staff, faculty, etc. I'm always told by the people here Franklin Roosevelt's admonition, which is to be brief, be sincere, and be seated. I always struggle preparing for this short speech as I want to make it memorable, but I quite understand that speeches at commencements are quickly forgotten. So this year I thought I would reveal some secrets about the college and its relationship to the class of 2013 that almost no one knows. It all revolves around the number 13 and some of its many tie-ins to the class of 13. Now, you can check me on this by going like this. It's amazing to me that the number 13 and words or names of 13 letters are so involved with Olin. The college was named for Franklin W. Olin. It was 13 years ago this month, on May 1st, 2000, that I, William Norden, 13 letters, stood on top of this hill with the other directors of the F.W. Olin Foundation, including Lawrence Milas, 13 letters, and Richard Miller, 13 letters, as we broke ground on the first new four-year college in more than half a century in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, 13 letters. With one exception, everyone in the cabinet has a name of 13 letters. Michelle Davis, Joanne Kasuth, you keeping count? Vincent P. Mano, Charles S. Nolan, Thomas Krimmel, and Roger Crafts Jr. Scary, isn't it? By the way, today is Rod Kraft's last platform appearance as our Dean of Student Life. Dr. Crafts, want to stand up? Okay, here's the test. It's something like George, what was the color of his white horse? How many years has Rod been the Dean of Student Life? 13. Good. And we have a new Dean of Student Life who couldn't make it today because her college's graduation is today, and her name is Ray Ann Butera, 13 letters. Okay, now that I've cured you of your triskaidekaphobia, which is the fear of the number 13, I want you to know how proud the surviving directors of the Olin Foundation and the trustees of Olin College are of what you, the students, and the college have achieved in the past 13 years since we broke ground. Olin's place in the world of engineering education after so short a time far exceeds anything that we might have imagined 13 years ago. This great success story continues to be written, and for this we owe thanks to the college's outstanding leadership, faculty, and staff. We owe thanks to the support of many diverse constituencies, including the parents and families of our students. And we owe thanks to the incredible students like you who have come here to innovate and be the engine that has already contributed to the advancement of engineering education in America and around the world. For example, earlier this year, Rick Miller, David Kearns, and Shira Kearns were awarded one of engineering education's highest and most prestigious honors, the Bernard M. Gordon Prize. It's a $500,000 prize, and it was awarded by the National Academy of Engineering to recognize innovation in engineering and technological education. Please join me in congratulating them. It is the hope of the Board of Trustees that this college instills in its graduates not just a world-class engineering education, but also a true appreciation of the role of philanthropy. As the members of the class of 2013 leave the Olin bubble, they should endeavor to abide by the college's founding precepts and do good for humankind. It was the wealth of Franklin W. Olin and the hard work of many individuals that bring us together today. As you embark upon what we know will be a productive, successful, and happy life in the years ahead, I urge you to be philanthropic with your time and your wealth. We expect that in the near future you will hear of some revolutionary, 13 letters, new ideas coming out of F.W. Olin College. But for today, May 19th, 13 letters, as the 76, come on, you guys are mathematicians, 76 members of the class of 2013 graduate, the Board of Trustees extend its sincerest wishes that all of you will live in health, happiness, and enjoy great success. We congratulate the graduates and their families. We look forward to hearing about your accomplishments, and we anticipate seeing all of you as frequent visitors to the college. Thank you, and good luck to all of you 13ers.
I would now like to introduce Samantha Yang, who will bring greetings from the class of 2013.
On behalf of the graduating class of 2013, welcome to our commencement. To the graduating seniors, my friends, congratulations. And to our friends, families, and everyone who joins us here today, welcome back to Olin, the school where we all fit under one tent. Welcomes aside, it is now my role to celebrate the collective journey that we have shared. Allow me to begin with a story. So as all Olin students, we are told a story at Olin about an elevator in a tall office building. You guys remember the story, right? Okay. So, after endless complaints about this elevator being too slow, the building manager brought in engineers. Engineers with their technical knowledge developed this brilliant algorithm that made the elevator go faster. So the solution was feasible. But it was also expensive and intensive. So the building manager brought in someone else. He brought in a designer. And the designer reassessed the problem. Do you guys remember what happens? He reassessed the problem, and he simply installed mirrors into the elevator. A funny thing happened. The complaint stopped. The problem was solved. Because in the end, it wasn't that we necessarily needed a faster elevator. We just needed a less boring elevator ride. When we were deciding on Olin, the school spoke of this new kind of engineer who, like the designer in this story, really wanted to understand the problem in order to develop the best solution. The school talked about its hands-on, project-centered, team-based curriculum, and I think all of us were excited to give this curriculum a chance, right? Can we get a whoo? We were excited. We jumped in. Within a few months, the upperclassmen commented on how close we seemed as a class. We made a class event out of anything that we could. We organized dress-up days like Classy Day and Twin Day. We threw birthday parties for each of our professors. Guys, by the way, it is cruel to make adults who already worry about turning a year older also worry about having to wear silly hats. But what goes around comes around. We even threw a funeral. Past no record, may you forever rest in peace. So there we were, a unified class with this unwavering energy to make this community our own. Beyond the class events, we jumped into existing activities, such as Fire Arts, Baja, and HPV. We brought back some organizations, like Frankly Speaking, the student-run newspaper. And we started a few clubs of our own, around scuba diving, opera, and midnight baking, just to name a few. For a class that seems so united and consistent, it should be odd then that in our junior year, nearly half of us seized the opportunity to go explore beyond the O. Some of us went to study a second language, others to farm or to travel in distant lands, one even to walk the path to Mordor. Instead, it's rather fitting. See, one of the most remarkable things about Olin is that through its community and through all of its group activities, it prioritizes us each as individuals. In our classes, we are asked, what do you want to work on? What do you care about? And a funny thing happens when you're asked this enough times. You start asking yourself. So here we are. We entered Olin as the last class in a first generation of Olin students. We transitioned it from a school that was being built to a school that has been built but must continually be improved. We emerged as individuals, a little more confident and a little more capable. On behalf of us all, welcome and thank you.
I would now like to introduce Zhenya Zastevka, who will bring greetings from the faculty and staff of the Olin College.
Blin 13. I'm a little excited for you guys, so I am going to start speaking with a very thick Russian accent and eventually go into Russian. So Anton there is going to be translating for y'all. Dear Olin College family, friends, supporters, and cheerleaders, on behalf of Olin faculty and staff, welcome. What an awesome honor to be standing in front of you here on this glorious day, and just standing. All right. I was asked, however, to say something welcoming, witty, and wise in just 5 minutes, like a wow. I must be one welcomingly witty and wise 22-year-old, and clearly a modest one at that too. All right, so if you expect me to talk about dancing on the tables, you're wrong, I'm not going to be doing that. If you're awaiting an analysis of the role of a pickle as a beverage chaser, I won't be doing so either. And if you anticipate that I will be reminding you about the faculty cross-dressing event during one of your years here at Olin, forget it. I won't be jogging your memory about this event either. There won't be any mention of white gloves, baths, Grand Challenge portfolios, or the true identity of the overlord. I won't say things like, don't jump ahead of your father into a fire, or don't burst my bubble, or don't steal my thunderstorm. And no, I won't be telling you what you should or shouldn't do after you leave these walls. The thing is, you know what to do. You're ready to begin weaving your own stunningly gorgeous tapestries of life, chiseling your own distinctively unique passageways, and molding your own inimitable futures. And you're ready to begin this journey on your own. So I won't tell you what to do. However, in the last Olin-esque way, I'm going to try to help you think about how to do so. So let me tell you a story. There was one story, now here's another story. Ready? Here's a Russian accent. So this is a little fairy tale of a girl whose name is Vasilisa. The story begins with when Vasilisa is faced with one of the toughest realities yet. Her mother fell gravely ill. But before the inevitable happened, the mother passed on a gift to her daughter with the following parting words. Take good care of this doll. If you are ever in trouble, give the doll something to eat and ask for advice. It will help you out in all of your troubles. So as many fairy tales go, of course, the father gets married in hopes to give his daughter a better future. Well, it doesn't happen because he brings along very cruel stepmother and, in addition, 2 awful stepsisters. However, in the toughest of times, whether milking a cow or washing the floors, Vasilisa would feed her doll and whisper into her ear, "Oh, little doll, please drink this milk, dear, and let me pour all of my troubles out into your ear." And the doll would listen and help Vasilisa with kind words and chores. So one cold day, of course, as all stories go, the father leaves home for a trip, and the evil stepmother sets out to rid the house of Vasilisa. Late at night, the stepmother let the fire go out, and with it, the house becomes dark. "What are we to do?" screamed the evil sisters. "What we are to do is we are to send Vasilisa to Baba Yaga to fetch a little light for us," responded the callous mother, and sent the girl into deep, dark woods to visit with wicked Baba Yaga, who gobbled up people and used their skulls for lanterns and bones for fans. Are you scared yet? It's not scary yet. Hang on. Coming up. So as Vasilisa struggled through the dark, deep forest to get to the witch's house, the little doll showed her the way. Tired and scared, the girl finally reached the house of the Baba Yaga. And just reminder, that house was on chicken legs, just to give you pictorial. And oh, what an awful sight did she see. So awful that even a fairy tale cannot describe. Suddenly, the ground shook, and Baba Yaga flew up in her mortar, sweeping away the tracks with her broom. "I smell human flesh," screamed Baba Yaga. "Who is here?" "It is I, Grandma Vasilisa," responded the girl. "I came here to fetch a little light from you." Baba Yaga took in Vasilisa to help her with chores, with the promise that upon their completion, the girl would get her light. So began a life, more horrid life, of slavery and fear that one chore done incorrectly, of course, will finish with Vasilisa being eaten up by Baba Yaga. Yet every time the girl was challenged with yet another impossible task, she would ask her doll for comfort, support, and help, and the job would be done. The dirt would be separated from poppy seeds, and the wheat would be sorted out seed by seed. By the way, poppy was P-O-P-P-Y. The witch became increasingly curious about the girl's successes. So one evening, Baba Yaga asked the girl, "How do you manage to do my chores? No human to date has been able to complete any of my tasks." And responded the girl, "It is with the blessings and love of my dear mother that I am able to face anything." This angered Baba Yaga mightily. "Get out of here then. I do not need blessed and loved ones in here." And of course, she throws out Vasilisa, but not without little light. The thing is that the light was magical. So not only did the light show Vasilisa way back home, but it also punished evil stepmother and stepsisters. So by the time Vasilisa gets home, of course, her father is back there. She tells him the whole story, and they lived happily ever after. Now, you're probably sitting there and asking me, why the blank, 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 I'm doing this to you. It's because it's a nice little story, and there is lots and lots and lots of meaning there, and one can write books about it, and there have been plenty of books written about the folklore. And I absolutely love allegories and metaphors there. So here is what I would like you to take out of from this story. You see, as Vasilisa, who meets her challenges on her journey, you have all met yours while here at Olin. I'm sure you have all met your Baba Yagas. I know I have given you plenty of opportunities to feel this way in my classes. And yet, every Baba Yaga whom you met was not a simple witch. She was also your teacher, tough, demanding, unyielding, the one whose lessons helped you grow, become more mature and self-aware. And guess what? You will continue meeting your Baba Yagas in the future, and you will continue meeting evil stepmothers and absolutely awful stepsisters. And as you do so, remember that there are only the challenges in your life, and you will absolutely overcome them. They're nothing more but another set of teaching and learning moments. And this is exciting. I did it on purpose. Here's another thought that I'd like you to keep in mind as you step out into the real world. The little doll that was passed on to Vasilisa was wisdom, support, comfort, and love of her mother. The doll was there with Vasilisa through all of her trials and tribulations, no matter the hardships, no matter the risk, no matter the personal cost. And little doll was, as that little doll was for Vasilisa, so will Olin always be for you. Cheering you on, supporting you, comforting you, sharing wisdom and advice. Always, always, always having your back. And whether you think of Olin as that little doll that you may have in your pocket as you journey through the dark, deep forest, or if you think of Olin as a mithril vest that Frodo Baggins wears on his passage from Middle-earth to uttermost west, or you think of Olin as Harry Potter's scar as the boy searches for the truth, Olin is and always will be there for you. So remember this as you skyrocket to incredible heights. And as you do so, please do steal my thunderstorm. Please do burst my bubble. And please do jump ahead of your father into a fire. Try, risk, explore, imagine, fight for what is right, seek the truth, find solutions to grand challenges. Never, ever give up. And remember the little doll. Olin will always be with you. Congratulations, class of 2013.
Now I am pleased to introduce Norman R. Augustine, retired chairman and CEO of the Lockheed Martin Corporation.
Well, thank you very much, and I'm enormously honored to be here. And when I find myself before this remarkable class and having to follow that wonderful speaker, I'm reminded of my very first day on the faculty at Princeton, and I'd spent my entire career up until that time either in government or in industry, and I was asked to give the welcoming lecture to the incoming freshman engineers. I wasn't paying much attention to what the dean was saying as he was making his opening remarks on that occasion. In fact, I was flipping through my lecture notes, and all of a sudden I heard him say, and now we will hear from Professor Augustine. And truly, for just an instant, the thought went through my mind, geez, what a coincidence. They've got some guy here by the same name as me. So it was a little frightening. I perhaps should also notice on the other side of that story that I had the good fortune to receive an honorary degree from my alma mater a couple of years ago. And needless to say, I was very proud, just as I'm sure you are today. The New York Times carried a story about the event the following day, and the headline of the New York Times article read, Muhammad Ali and 3 others received Princeton degrees. I think I was the first of the others. It might be of interest to you to know how I happen to have the good fortune to have been invited to be your graduation speaker here today. For several years, some of my most highly regarded friends have been telling me about Olin, and they've been encouraging me to come and visit here. Well, one day I decided to come and see for myself, and I had the great good luck to get to visit with your president and spend a part of the day with him. And I was struck, in fact, overwhelmed by your small size of your class, by your technology focus, the remarkable students and faculty and administration. I was particularly struck by the commitment to the honor code, and particularly to the fresh approach to pedagogy that occupies Olin. And I kept thinking of what the provost of one of America's most highly regarded engineering schools once told me when the two of us were trying to make a change in the curriculum at that school. His comment was, Norm, he said, you just don't understand how difficult it is to overcome 100 years of excellence and success. Well, you skipped 100 years and went straight to the excellence and success. And so that was the occasion that I had my being here, that your president happened to invite me to speak with you today. And that is how it happened. Now, if you may have wondered why it happened, I just learned a few minutes ago, and that is if you add up the letters in Norm Augustine. I had to take my shoes off to do it, but it came out right. In thinking about what might be appropriate remarks before such an extraordinary group on such an exceptional occasion, I asked my wife of over 50 years for advice, and she, of course, knows my limitations probably better than anyone else in the world. And after a brief deliberation, she said to me, well, whatever you do, don't try to sound clever, or intellectual, or charming. Just be yourself. So I will try to do just that today. Now, I think this is evident, certainly to every one of you in the graduating class and most everyone in this tent. I started to say room, most everyone in this tent. We're entering a new world. It's a world unlike those who graduated some years before you entered. Probably the first class at Olin, in fact, would have been very different. And I think that there are two major drivers for the change in that world, both related to technology. The new world that I refer to could be summarized in the word globalization. And the two drivers, at least in my mind, include jet aircraft, which made it possible to move objects, including people, all around the world at nearly the speed of sound. And secondly, to the idea of information systems that make it possible to move knowledge, ideas, data around the world, literally at the speed of light. The result, I think, is best summarized by the words of Francis Cairncross, writing in The Economist, who said that distance is dead. You know, if you think about it, distance really doesn't matter much anymore. It's a profound idea. And the writer Tom Friedman says that globalization has accidentally made Bangalore, Beijing, and Bethesda next-door neighbors. Fortunately, the education that each of you has received has prepared you very well to survive in this new world and also to serve in this new world and, in fact, to shape it. And this is a very great responsibility that each of you bears, and I will come back to that. Studies have shown that between 50 and 85% of the growth in the United States gross domestic product can be attributed to advancements in science and engineering. One of those studies, in fact, won a Nobel Prize. My own analysis shows that for every percentage point the GDP increases, we increase about 0.6% of employment, or about 1 million jobs in this country. Now, some of you may ask, what is an engineer doing performing economic analyses? And I would merely remind you that I am a rocket scientist. But it's also true that if you're going to shape the world, you're going to require more than the first-class education that you've received. And this brings me to the duty of a graduation speaker, namely to offer a few nuggets of worldly advice that's based on the speaker's many years of making mistakes and gathering scar tissue. And by both measures, I've achieved a great deal. Now, I have to confess to you that I don't recall what pieces of worldly advice the graduation speaker at my own graduation offered. In fact, I can't even recall who offered them. The one thing I do recall is that whoever it was that did offer them in Latin. Yes, this was a great thrill for those of us who are engineers. So let's just move ahead with not one, but several pieces of worldly advice that I'd like to offer, but not to worry, as former Yankee owner George Steinbrenner liked to tell his new managers, I won't keep you long. First, I'd simply like to note something that you have already learned, and that is that there's one thing that's more important than your degree, even more important than your health, and that is, of course, your reputation, something even more fragile than those other qualities. And I say this not because graduation speakers are expected to say that, and they are, but I say it because I've had highly accomplished friends that managed to destroy their careers and, in fact, their lives through a single slip-up in the reputational sphere. The very first rocket that I worked on when I got out of college blew up after a flight of 200 milliseconds, which, for those of the audience who aren't engineers, that's not very good. It blew up after a flight of 200 milliseconds, in part because of an error that I probably should have caught, but didn't. But somehow my career survived. But the people I've known that made reputational errors, their careers did not survive by and large. Next, it's been my observation that in most undertakings, motivation will beat mere talent almost every time. And I should emphasize that the combination of talent and motivation is virtually unbeatable. In my service on boards of 4 Fortune 100 companies, I was always struck by how the people who rose to the top often weren't people with 4-digit IQs. Rather, they were people who were intensely committed to doing the tasks that they had been assigned. I would also prefer the contrarian view that it's not particularly useful to spend very much time planning the rest of one's life. Be assured that I subscribe to the perspective of that great philosopher, Yogi Berra, who warned that if you don't know where you're going, you might end up someplace else. But the problem is that there are simply too many uncontrollable variables in life to do detailed long-range planning. Life always seems to have 4 unknowns and 3 equations. It's of course important to have some general sense of where you'd like to end up. For example, if you want to be a neurosurgeon, it's probably a good idea to go to medical school. But it's also important to take advantages of opportunities as they appear. A good friend of mine at our company used to remind us that when opportunity knocks, try to answer the door. Now, turning to my next point of advice, I believe that when pursuing a career, it's important to focus on one's present responsibilities and not worry about getting ahead. And the great irony seems to be that the best way to get ahead is to not focus on getting ahead. No one has said this better than Sir William Osler, who is considered by many to be the father of modern Western medicine. And he counseled, and I'll quote, "I've had personal ideals, one to do the day's work well and not to bother about tomorrow. It is to it, more than anything else, that I owe whatever success I've had, to this power of settling down to the day's work and trying to do it well, to the best of one's ability, and let the future take care of itself." That's what he had to say, and I think it was very good advice. I'd also encourage you to engage in selfless pursuits outside of your regular job responsibilities. If you do, I think you'll find much greater satisfaction in life. Some years ago, a business colleague of mine, a vice president of our firm, stopped by my office on the last day at work for him before he retired. And when he said he wasn't sure what he was going to do with his newfound time, I suggested he become a Red Cross volunteer. Well, about 3 years passed before I heard from him again. Then one day in the mail, a tattered, water-stained envelope arrived. Inside of it was a piece of notebook paper, lined paper, also water-stained, with a note written in pencil from my friend. And it started as follows. "I have just spent my entire day standing in water up to my knees, handing out rolls of toilet paper." And he went on to say, "For some reason I thought of you." But the letter concluded with the following sentence. He said, "It was one of the finest days of my life, and such days could be among the finest days in your lives, too." I'm told that at medical school graduations, it's common for the dean to stand up before the graduating class and say that I'm terribly sorry to inform you that half of what we have taught you is wrong. And the problem is we don't know which half. And the problem is that that's very much true of engineering as well. I was taught that there were 3 particles we had to worry about. I didn't even know the Higgs boson was lost. I didn't care. But this does mean you're going to have to commit yourself to lifelong learning, or otherwise you'll become professionally middle-aged by the time you're 30. And it also means that engineering diplomas should have expiration dates printed on them. Now, I didn't suggest that. There's a saying that life is what happens while you are making plans. And life does have a way of slipping by, take my word for it. So try not to waste it. Try to prioritize your time and devote your time to things that really matter. And sadly, you'll find that there are those compromises to be made, that you can't do everything, but you can do a lot. So set big goals, not little goals. Newt Gingrich once asked me if I knew why lions don't hunt chipmunks. And I said, no, I don't know why lions don't hit chipmunks. Why? And he said, because if they catch them, they starve to death. So hunt for big goals. And finally, we come to that piece of advice you've all been eagerly awaiting, the last one. For this, I would simply observe that life is not a spectator sport, nor is it a dress rehearsal. And the greatest regrets in life are not the opportunities that one pursues and fails, but the ones that one fails to pursue. Everyone periodically is confronted with a decision as to whether to remain in their comfort zone, preserving the status quo, or in the words of Robert Frost, to take the road less traveled. The latter, of course, entails taking certain risks. I'm not talking about injudicious, frivolous risks, but carefully considered risks. An incident I observed once at a course I was taking midway through my career illustrates this point so well. I'd like to share it with you. This was an event that really happened. The speaker was talking about taking risks, and he posited a case where there was a very large I-beam sitting on the stage in front of him, and he asked a volunteer in the audience, and he said, if I were to give you a real $20 bill to walk across this imaginary I-beam, would you do it? And the fellow in the audience said, sure. So the speaker changed it a little bit. He said, supposing I take that identical I-beam and I suspend it between two 40-story buildings over a highway, and I said, I'll give you the same $20 to walk across the same I-beam, would you do it? And the fellow in the audience said, no, he wouldn't. Well, the speaker made his point, but unfortunately he kept going. That's a lesson too. When you reach the bottom of a hole, you know about that. And he said, there's a new situation. The beam is still above the 40-story buildings, and you're on one building, and I'm on the other building, and I'm holding one of your kids out over the edge of the building. And I say to you, now, if you don't come across the I-beam and get your kid, I'm going to drop him. And he said, now would you cross the I-beam? And without hesitation, the fellow in the audience said, which kid do you have? And for some reason, the audience laughed more than the class at that. So life does have its risk, but it also has its rewards. It has its tough decisions, but you've been extremely well prepared to deal with all. That other great philosopher once said, and I refer to Charlie Brown, of course, that the greatest burden a person can bear is to have it said of them that they have great potential. And each of you has great potential, and I'm thoroughly confident that each of you will live up to that challenge. I wish you the very greatest throughout the rest of your lives. Thank you.
It is now my pleasure to introduce the candidates for Bachelor of Science degrees. Those who have completed their requirements have been recommended by the faculty to the Board of Trustees to be awarded the degree of Bachelor of Science in recognition of their academic accomplishments. Will the candidates please rise?
By virtue of the power granted to Olin College by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and by the authority given to me by the Board of Trustees, I do hereby confer upon you the degree of Bachelor of Science in Electrical and Computer Engineering, in Engineering, or in Mechanical Engineering, according to the degree you have earned and the requirements you have completed, with all of the attendant rights, privileges, and responsibilities appertaining to this degree. That means you can move this little doodad to the other side. I'd now like to ask the class of 2013 to turn around and thank your families for the support that they've given you for all these years. And while you're at it, I'd like to ask you to turn to your left and to your right and thank the faculty and staff for the support that they've given you. Okay, please be seated. To present the graduates, I now call on Dr. Vincent Mano, our Provost and Dean of Faculty. We will be assisted in the distribution of the diplomas by Mrs. Linda Canavan, the College Registrar. Now for the audience, please hold your applause for each graduate until their name and the 15-word passage have been read. The first row of the graduates may now stand and approach the stage.
Samantha Page Becht.
Described as purple, sparkly, salty, sneaky, snorkel, sassy, assassin, terrible. You thought I wasn't weird.
Christopher Matthew Belland.
Spiral learning, pages turning, passion burning, minds yearning, money earning, now adjourning, keep returning.
Jessica Lucille Bethune.
My Nana takes her wig off when she's drunk.
Rachel H. Bobbins.
Jessica, your Nana and I have that in common.
Paul Henry Booth.
Crowd participation, please. Paul, 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 Paul. Ah, closure.
Kelsey O'Donnell Braceman.
Well, that was the silliest tea party I ever went to. Alice in Wonderland.
Andrew Paul Carmadale.
Well, on second thought, let's not go to the real world. 'Tis a silly place.
Erica D. Chin.
The future is yours, but remember to question and consider, what will you be known for?
Caroline Elizabeth Condon.
Francolin, noun. Any of a genus of partridges of chiefly southern Asia and Africa. Webster's.
Rainer Lake Crosby.
It would be easier if we just had to pick 140 characters.
Andrea Quadra.
At some point, I'll be back in Nicaragua. I'd love some visits. Yabba dabba doo.
Erin V. Duvere.
If found, please return to Blair Emanuel.
Thomas Wayne Duggar.
Friends are our greatest treasure. Through Davis, Kate, Olin, and Wellesley, I found mine.
Mariah Sigourney Dunn.
Thank you, family and friends. Riddle, the more you take, the more you leave behind.
Blair Judith Emanuel.
Life has taken me to some unexpected places. I'm glad one of them was here.
Molly Louise Farrison.
Life is a lot like jazz. It's best when you improvise. George Gershwin.
Anton Frolenkopf.
Many thanks to friends, family, and the problems that solved themselves.
David N. Gaynor.
Fencing, fighting, torture, revenge, giants, monsters, chases, escapes, true love, miracles? Doesn't sound too bad.
Aaron Greenberg.
This one's for my grandpa Shell. Your spirit lives on. Love, Aaron.
Molly Rose Grossman.
We are such stuff as dreams are made on. Now let's go make them reality.
Geethanjali Guba.
It's pronounced Geetha with a TH, but spelled without the H. Geez, get it right.
Nikhil Raju Gupta.
A day without sunshine is like, night.
Victoria Lynn Hamilton.
It's always time to take chances, make mistakes, get messy. Allons-y!
Jeffrey Allen Hart.
All we have to decide is what to do with the time we're given.
Andrew James Heine.
Fistling, whistling, bristling tears, 20 shoes, 4 years, fat heat, sweet meat, black rat engineers.
Michael G. Haynes.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and Iron Man.
Lucas Paul Hill.
I've matured a lot since high school. Not once have I caught someone on fire.
Jalia Huang.
Maybe next semester.
Arjun Iyer.
There's a time to laugh and a time not to. This isn't one of them.
Eric Parry Jones.
Thanks, everyone. Time to explore the real world and make a better tomorrow. Tomorrow.
Casey Michael Karst.
Things learned at Olin. Teamwork, problem solving, and hot tubs shouldn't go in the dorms.
Corey William Kautz.
Oh, to ride the wind, to tread the air above the din.
Jared Andrew Kirshner.
Happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you, happy birthday, dear Jared. Happy birthday to you.
Alan Byung-Young Ko.
Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world.
Aishwarya Padma Kolasetti.
Thanks to you and your moms for jump-starting my career. My comedic one, that is.
Eric Borton Kolker.
Here's to people, passion, competencies, and 3:36 a.m. Thank you, everyone, for a wonderful ride.
Mandy Barrett Korpasuk.
A dream is a dream. A goal is a dream with a plan and a deadline.
Tara Krishnan.
You're on your own. You know what you know. You'll decide where you will go.
Casey Landy.
I accepted my diploma. Suddenly, I knew I was people and could not stop laughing.
Jing Lee.
Thanks, Mom, Dad, and friends. May the force always be equal to mass times acceleration.
Philip Zion Lowe.
Even if you don't believe in yourself, there's always someone else who believes in you.
Jenny Ma.
Thanks for the adventure, everyone. Now go have a new one. Love, Jenny.
Celeste D. Mazel.
Are we not drawn onward, we few, drawn onward to new era?
Sarah Elizabeth Matthew.
Two paths diverged in the woods. I listened to the animals and tread through the trees.
Jonathan Andrew McKay.
Calculus, programming, challenges to surmount. But the thing they never taught me was how to...
Robert E. McMullen.
Measure twice, cut once. When you do cut, hold nothing back.
Xingwan Shane Mun.
Korean proverb, no winter without snow, no spring without sunshine, no happiness without companions. 감사합니다.
Heidi E. Nafis.
It's spelled Heidi E. Nafis, but it's pronounced throat wobbler mangrove. Hedor och tack för allt.
Jessica L. Noglos.
One sees clearly only with the heart. Anything essential is invisible to the eyes.
Thomas Pandolfo.
World domination is such an ugly phrase. I prefer world optimization. Thanks, Olin. You rock.
Jeffrey M. Pless.
Olin, I love you more each day. Can't wait to see what you do next.
Kendall Elizabeth Pletcher.
Congratulations, today is your day. You're off to great places. You're off and away.
Elizabeth Cam Poindexter.
Thanks, God, family, Ben, Lawrence, Gabe, Zhenya, Liz, Abby, Amelia, James, Carol, Linda, and Tim.
Vidi Pong.
Thanks, Mom, Dad, everyone else important. Wait, does this mean I can get a puppy?
Luis Alberto Reyes.
Goal! Go, 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 go! Golazo, golazo!
Timothy G. Raymond.
At Olin, I've learned 24 hours a day isn't enough, and always, always wear wrist restraints.
Tanner Scott Reed.
Is only graduating today because of his family's love, God's grace, and Linda Canavan's mercy.
Jacqueline Joan Rose.
We are now the knights who say, Eki, 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 zapang, zoom, boing, zing.
Timothy Cameron Ryan.
Critics agree. Insightful, bold, irreverent, and raw. Tim Ryan's most ambitious and heartbreaking degree yet.
Hannah Beth Sarver.
So long and rock for all the dinosaurs.
Rebecca Helen Schutzengle.
Dear Zhenya, I confess, Brittany, Liz, and I hung the wire strippers in your office.
Margaret Ann Julia Sager.
Proud to pass the torch to the next Seeger today. Don't mess up, little man.
Emily B. Shackleton.
When life gets rough, remember, at least you're taller than Jalia, except you, Jalia.
Allison Yoonkyun Shin.
Peace.
Benjamin L. Smith.
Today is momentous. Friends and family have gathered, we're departing, and I'm not wearing flannel.
Robert Lawrence Sebecki.
I can't complain, but sometimes I still do. Life's been good to me so far.
Sasha Altair Sprock.
You give until you've given up, and then you try again. Tsuyoku naritai, fly free.
Travis Lucian St. Ange.
You'd best start believing in graduation, seniors. You're in one.
Brittany Loretta Strakota.
Love to all my family and friends. And Liz, it was me who pantsed you.
Michael T. Sullivan.
Despite everything, I am glad I came here. Now I can do anything. Thank you.
Elizabeth Faye Threckeld.
Thanks, friends, family, and professors, especially John Geddes, who ditched us today for his boat.
Nathaniel Ho-Chun Ting.
Be joyful in hope, patient in affliction, faithful in prayer. Love God, love people.
Lillian Zhen.
I came young and unprepared. I leave as Mecha Mistress, Luscious Lil Seductress, and Olin Grad.
Tara M. Bazary.
If more people took glitter seriously, the need for Prozac would cease to exist.
Teddy Vedalova.
In the words of Jay-Z, all I need in this life of sin is me and my girlfriends.
Ilana Walder Bizans.
I don't know half of you, half as well as I should like.
Amy L. Whitcomb.
And I like less than half of you, half as well as you deserve.
Samantha Sungwoo Yang.
To my family, you are my everything. Mom, Dad, Rachel, and Tiff, I love you.
Congratulations, class of 2013, and welcome alumni of Olin College. This concludes Olin's 8th commencement exercises. I hope you have enjoyed today's ceremony, and I would like to invite everyone to join us for a reception on the Oval and in the dining hall.